Yes, people, we are back. I hope you are all doing well. Mr. Lee Judges was a little bit late, but he is back with us now. Welcome back to the show. We're on Lee Judges TV. We're going to be bringing you a lot more content, hopefully daily or every other day now that Lee is back from the US. There's nowhere better place to start, Lee, than to say welcome back to England. I'm sure you're happy to be in the wet rain. But talk to me, man. How was it? You look like you had a blast, bro.
Oh, it was fantastic. Had a fantastic time. Weather was sensational. And it was just a really, really good tour. I'm going to admit it now, I am absolutely shattered. The last couple of days, really, you come back home, really takes it out of you. But honestly, Dan, the fans out there, the American fans were unreal. It was
outstanding, weren't they?
Unbelievable. It started off in New York, in Washington, and it was like only 16,000 for the All-Stars game. And so it was, but you could see that there was a mad passion for it and everything like that. But then when we went to New York, it just went up to a completely different level. It blew my mind. I was in Orlando last year, and that was unbelievable. But New York and the MetLife Stadium was just like 80,000 fans. And I'll be really honest with you, Dan, it was split. 40,000 Arsenal fans, 40,000 Man United fans, all mostly Americans. And it was just crazy. It was full on, we didn't perform, if I'll be honest, on that day. A little bit disappointing. But then going to Los Angeles, it was a little bit of a funny mixed feelings in Los Angeles because, you're coming to the end of the tour. Do you know what I mean? But it was we'd had honestly, we went to a party fans party in New York. 2,000 people there. They were queuing all around New York. It was, and people were walking past and going, "What's going on here?" It was mad, absolutely mad. And then when we went to LA, we done a little, small little one at the Fox and Hounds. Sophie was there, Mike. We done a little one there, and then the next day we went to the party at in Los Angeles. Oh my God, Dan, it was incredible. The venue, everything like that. I don't know if you've seen it online, meeting Edu again, it was unbelievable. Had a good chat with him about things. He's such an honest guy, do you know what I mean? He really is. He tells you how it is. Actually said one of the best things that he turned around and said was that and I'm going to say, he said, "Lee, it's easier to sign players now than it was 2 years ago." He said, "Look, it's a lot easier," and I was quite taken back by that, really. But he said, "Trust me, it's easier now." So that was a big thing. Had a good chat with him, had the party thing, and then Dan to go to the SoFi Stadium.
Best stadium you've ever been to?
Oh yeah. Oh my God, you know what I mean? I'm going to be really honest with you. We've been to Spurs. Spurs is fantastic stadium in England, because it's a new, shiny new one. I'm looking at pictures of the Everton one, which is going to be fantastic when that's up and running. But and great stadiums. Wembley, fantastic stadium. And of course the Emirates when it first was built. But this stadium just blew my mind. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. And I know it sounds silly, but like Cecil was saying, you wait till you see it and everything like that. You have to experience it to believe it. When someone says, "Oh, it's a great stadium and this and that," you sort of go, yeah. But when you actually go there, oh my God, Dan, and the American fans, look, I've got to say, I come out of there drunk. You know what I mean? It's all escalators going up to different places, goes up and down. It's a sensational thing, and they've got bars around and food places and that. So, one of the guys turned around and said, how much for a beer? You know what I mean? I said, "How much for a beer?" He said, $18. So, it's about 20 quid, $20. So about £18 for a pint for a can of beer. So I said, "Blimey," he says, "You come down and have a photo with me, I'll buy you a beer." So I jumped off the escalator and went straight back down the other one, had a fight with him and he bought me this beer, like, you know what I mean? Unbelievable. Well, they were buying me beer. I was just walking around and people were just going like, you know, can I have, what can I need to buy you a beer? And a fella called Andy, you know what I mean? He said, oh, you've been, you make my day and everything like that. Just watching you and that. So he bought me a beer. And in the end of it, like,
Easily pleased, didn't he?
oh, well, easily pleased, yeah, like, you know, so I was just walking, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, I sat down in my seat, and the guys next to me said, "Oh, we bought you a beer," you know, and it's not cheap, Dan. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not cheap, you know, and they're buying me beers. I should have turned around and said, "I'm getting a bit hungry." I think they'd have bought me dinner and all, like, you know, I mean, it was incredible, like, you know, but then the love. For us out there was incredible, like, you know, the fans, you know, and I've got to say it, Dan, they know what they're talking about as well. They you know, there's a real thing about it, you know, there, and it's made me realise, you know, when people turn around and go, "Oh, I'm proper Arsenal," you know, what you know, Arsenal and all that, like, well, what is proper Arsenal? What is Arsenal? You know what I mean? Like, what does make you an Arsenal? Because there was guys over there and girls that were quite happy to say that I'm a baby gooner or can't think the other word they use now, like, you know what I mean, where they've only just started following the Arsenal, you know, within a year or something like that.
Yep.
But does that make me a better supporter because I've been supporting them for 40 years or 30 or whatever many years I've been supporting Arsenal? More than 40, if I'll be honest, 50 years, I suppose. And you know, it doesn't. They were just as passionate about newbies. That's it. Thank you very much, Shabby. Newbies, like, they, you know, like, and they're just as passionate because they've been supporting it. So do you condemn them because they've only supported Arsenal for a year? Well, not like for me. It's not like, you know.
I don't really care about if people want to support Arsenal for 5 minutes or 50 years, if I'm honest with you. It doesn't bother me. People are all different ages as well. Some people say, oh, you're only 12, so you won't know what it's like to win, all that kind of stuff. Listen, there's some truth to that, of course, because it's facts, but actually it doesn't mean they're less of a fan than you. And I've gone over and looked at content from the last few weeks, and it's been unbelievable, mate. The amount of energy, enthusiasm, passion, desire, and the love that you lot have got, which is great. You know, it's always nice to have that respect and that love that people watch your content and know who you are and watch you on here and on other shows and AFTV, and that's great. And I think it's great that we can go over to places like that and look at the club and think, wow, how big are we? Because it just proves how big Arsenal is, doesn't it? You know,
exactly that, Dan. You know what I mean? Like, I know someone's saying it about Declan Rice. He just got a kick on the calf. Nothing that thing that willing to talk to Cecil and Curtis, who was out there as well, like, you know, and that was a great thing. The greatest thing for me though, Dan, was that Cecil done an interview with Aaron Ramsdale, like, you know, and off camera, Aaron Ramsdale went, "Oh, I'll see Lee out in Portugal and all that," like, you know what I mean? So,
wow,
like, it's incredible. And Cecil said, "Oh, he's here," like, you know what I mean? He said, "Oh, it's, you know," he said, like, "Oh, he was in Portugal with him and his wife," like, you know, and he said, "Oh, like, you know," he says that, and he said, I said hello," like, do you know what I mean? It's just incredible, Dan. You know what I mean? From
it is
either side of it, like, you know. And the tour was just one of those tours, you know, like a lot of travelling, and the time. I one question I'd just like to ask, and I don't think, and I like to ask. You know, I kept saying to the guys, you know, I'm just not asking silly questions about this and that. Ask the question. My question would have been like, how do you deal with the jet lag and the time differences here? What do you do to do it? Because you get tired, Dan, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and they've got to train and play and all that, like, and then, like, for the next 2 days you come home, you know, like, I wouldn't have been out training or anything over the last couple of days. I've been like sleeping at silly hours and things. I'd just like to know how they do it. And I think that maybe that's what's just caused, you know, like a little bit of up and down on the tour. I don't know, like, you know what I mean?
maybe.
I'm not trying to make excuses because against Man United, we were poor. Looking back on things at home and everybody like that, oh, you know, it does make me laugh, you know what I mean? When Arsenal win, you know, it's fantastic, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's pre-season's important. As soon as we lose a game, it don't really matter. about pre-season, like, you know. And then like we beat
United had done
Arsenal.
the same, haven't they? Man United, they beat us, and it was Arsenal, beating Arsenal. I haven't heard from them since they lost to Wrexham
No,
and
no,
Real Madrid.
no,
You know what
no.
I mean? Like it's mad, isn't it? So listen,
It is
pre-season is
completely.
exactly that, but winning is momentum. You know, last season, Lee, pre-season, you come back buzzing, telling me how good Saliba and Jesus
Exactly
were.
that.
And we went 5 games where we went on absolutely battered teams, and it was momentum. And I put that down to pre-season, Lee. I do.
Yeah, exactly that, Dan. Because I can tell you that now. After this pre-season, look, listen, Barcelona game was unbelievable, brilliant game. But if we was going to Crystal Palace on this game now, and we was doing the same sort of thing, like, you know, chatting away, I wouldn't have been as enthusiastic as I was at that Crystal Palace game last year. Do you remember that
Yeah,
game? It was a
I
tough
do.
game,
Yeah, you were buzzing
I mean?
for it. You
And I
said to me,
said,
look.
"Look, bring it on. We will win this game." I had no doubts that Arsenal were going to win that game. I'm not saying that because hindsight now. You know, we were saying,
Yep.
like, I was going, you wait till you see Saliba, you wait till you see this, you wait till you see that. You're going to be impressed with this team. I've not had quite that same enthusiasm for it this time around because I've seen a little few, not flaws. It's a little bit of a worrying couple of things. But I will say this, that the pre-season's a little bit slightly different this time around because we've got the Community Shield, which means that these next 2 games now, the Emirates Cup and this one, I think will be the Chelsea and Sevilla games of last season. Like, do you know what I mean? Where they experimented a little bit and then they went with that sort of side. So, you know, the next 2 pre-season games are going to be very, very interesting. But honestly, like, you know, the football in that last game, I have to say that with Arsenal, some of the football now they play, Dan, is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. You know, I know you was doing the watch along, weren't you? And well done for staying up like that time and like that. Do you know what I mean? So,
mate, that was tough. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, you know, I talked to that because the week before, I don't know if you've seen the clip going about it. It's hilarious. You know what I mean?
I have seen it. Yeah,
where Laurie turns around and says, "So, what do you think, Kai Havertz? How well was he played like?" And they went to Charlene and Ty, and they're both a kip. You know what I mean? Like, so, it's incredible. But I will say this. You know what I mean? These guys getting up 3 o'clock in the morning to watch games and
commitment, mate.
It is a commitment. I tell you, like, you know, 12:30 game in New York is 7:30 in the morning. So take another 5 hours after that. It's, you know, 2:30 in the morning or 12. My maths ain't the greatest, but you know, these guys are going through all night to watch football, and you know, the enthusiasm for it is incredible. Like, you know, they love it. Can't get enough of the Arsenal over there, like, you know, and it was
absolutely
a fantastic, successful tour and all that because of that. And I will say that the organisation of the Arsenal America is on a different scale. The facilities that the Arsenal have over there, no wonder they want to keep going back over there. And it is just a sensational feeling. I will say this, the other thing, Dan, which probably people don't appreciate, the heat was incredible. Particularly in Washington and New York, where it's humid. You know, when we went down to LA, there was a breeze. It was a nice, and I think that's why the game was so much quicker. The heat in New York is very draining. So again, not trying to make excuses because that, you know, when we was in Orlando, it was just very, very much the same, and they come through those games particularly well, like, you know. But you know, it was a sensational trip, and you know, buzzing for the Arsenal at the moment. And you know, we'll talk about the signs in a minute. But what was the experience like for you over here?
Yeah, a couple of the games I couldn't watch due to other commitments. I couldn't watch the Man United game. I was out for a birthday party that I couldn't get out of my mate's 40th, and I thought, well, I can't really turn that one down, and I'm glad I didn't, if I'm honest, because that sounded absolutely horrific. But I went to the watch along for Arsenal Barcelona, and I got to the studio, and I thought it was just me and Jack and Kenya, and Ty was asleep in the corner of the room on the sofas. So he woke up at about 2:30, something like that. And then we found out that the kickoff was delayed, and we thought, you are kidding me, you joke. This is ridiculous. So I'd left my house in Essex around about midnight. And I didn't get back till 8:30 in the morning. So I did like a full night shift, basically. It was just ridiculous. So, yeah, I found it okay because I had a few hours sleep before. So I must have gone up to bed round about 7:30, 8:00, got about 4 hours, something like that. I got there. Laurie hadn't even slept, but he seems to not need any sleep, mate. He just like got insomnia. I'm sure of it. He was like, "I'm buzzing. I'm still all right. I'm all good." Ty, mate, he is literally on energy drinks all day long. I don't think he needs energy drinks, mate. He is absolutely off his head, and you know what he's like. And
Yeah.
I've known Ty a while, and I know you've known him a long time as well. But every single like tackle that went in. Where's the card? Where's the card? Where's the card? Every single tackle. Now I must say they were a bit dirty actually, Barcelona. There was one from Araújo from
Oh,
Jesus. I thought, oh, is it Araújo? Am I saying his name right? That for me, I was like, he should have been. That was absolutely shocking. To be fair, Arsenal weren't exactly great, if I'm honest, because we put in quite a few fouls as well. But yeah, good game of football. Really, really good game of football. One that I enjoyed. It was great. You know, sometimes, Lee, you can tell in games, and I said this on the watch along, this is going to be a high scoring game. Straight
yeah.
away, I could tell, you know, like end to end stuff. And I was impressed with it. But kept awake, mate. Slept very, very well the next day. I'll tell you that. Kept awake and didn't fall asleep like Charlene and Ty, bless them both. But yeah, the four of us had a good laugh, and it was a good game, and one that I'm glad I actually did watch because it was one that I enjoyed. I'm glad that it's over, and I don't mean that in a horrible way. It means that football's around the corner, and I'm looking forward to it now, and I'm excited for it. So I'm glad pre-season is pretty much done. We've got obviously the Emirates Cup Wednesday, and then obviously we've got the Community Shield at the weekend, which I'm looking forward to. But I think we should get into some pre-season individuals. Before we do that, the breaking news of today is that Arsenal are in for a goalkeeper, mate. David Raya from Brentford is to join Arsenal. We believe he's really interested in the move. I don't know how long he's got left on his contract. There was a rumour that he's only got a year left. So if that's the case, then it looks like he could be off if he's not going to sign an extension at Brentford. Now, Bayern Munich are sniffing around him, but apparently those talks have collapsed, and he is favouring a move to the Arsenal. Now, I'm really happy about this, but I'm a little bit shocked, Lee. I didn't expect us to go in for a goalkeeper of this ilk. I thought if we were ever going to replace Turner, it would be with somebody like Turner. Now, you know my thoughts on Matt Turner. I don't want to start getting too disrespectful, but I do have more concerns. I don't think he is of the level that we need if Ramsdale was to get a long-term injury, but David Raya certainly would be. Now, £40 million, Lee, is quite a lot of money. That to me is good news, and I'll tell you why. I don't think Mikel Arteta sees the goalkeeping position as a huge priority. So to spend 40 million on him must mean that we've got enough to go in again and get another couple of players. If that doesn't happen, however, then is it a bad move getting all that money on a goalkeeper? And let's say Havertz, we're going to spend over 100 million on Havertz and Raya, and could potentially do some damage to other positions that we may need. Now, I don't think that will happen. I think we will get in the players we need. And I think when this window closes, me and you are going to be talking about a very, very good transfer window, mate, the way this is going.
Yeah, I think that as well. Like, you know, I'm not, you know, speaking to Edu, like he never come home with the team. He stayed out there. He was having talks with the Cronkies and everything like that. Told us that. He said, "I'm staying out here." So, you know, it just shows you it's quite a big thing that they're doing. As I said, you know what I mean? He didn't say like that they wouldn't be signing no players, but like sort of saying, you know, that hinting that that there's still things to do, still work to do. That's why he's staying out there. So I think that it is very, very interesting. This one shocked me. I'm going to have to say, like, you know what I mean, that Arsenal are interested in him. Puts a lot of pressure on Ramsdale, who I think is, you know, been very, very good for us. But it just shows you that what they're looking to do is maybe, yeah, and I think it's right. If, you know, if something happens to Ramsdale, or, you know, and you've got Champions League football and cups and everything like that, I think that what could happen, Dan, is quite easily like they could say to Aaron Ramsdale, right, you're doing the league and you're doing the cups. I don't know how it's going to work because you've got to keep two very, very good goalkeepers happy. Hearing rumours that Matt Turner's looking to go to Nottingham Forest. Yeah, so it's a move that I think excites me, because one thing is exactly what you said. If they're prepared to spend that sort of money, then that's unbelievable. Like, you know,
Mm.
and realistically, if you really look at it, like, you know, 65 million on Havertz, 40 million. Say if it was to come on Raya, and really, if you look at it with Timber, I don't think he's guaranteed us being a starter, even though I've been very, very impressed with him. You know, that's about I don't know, 150 million on squad players that are going to strengthen the squad. So all of a sudden, their squad is looking very, very strong, Dan, very, very strong, and that's what you need. I do think that a couple are going to go. I think there's rumours now that Eddie's being touted for a deal. I've said it. If someone comes, is it Crystal Palace? If Crystal Palace come in with a £40 million bid or more, I think you've got to take that. I think you really have.
100%. I probably would have sold him for Leslie. I can't even lie. Eddie, I don't know if that's a great deal for Palace at 40 million. That's a lot of money, but you're right. If they come in at even 30, I'd take it. I think that Balogun as well looks like he's going to go. I mean, he hasn't really kicked a ball in pre-season, and they're talking about both Eddie and Balogun going. Now, if that happens, then we're going to need another forward coming to the football club.
And I think they're going to have one.
For sure. And, you know, Daniel put in a great question here. Daniel Parker says, even Dan and Lee, question, if we're spending 40 million on a goalkeeper, why are we not addressing the urgent backup for Saka first? And that would be everyone's concern. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to address the issues that we also need in the squad. But like Daniel said there, you'd like to think that there's a priority for a forward to come in that can either cover for Saka or cover for Jesus ahead of a goalkeeper. But it looks to me, and I stand by this, that if we're getting a goalkeeper, I really don't think that's instead of a forward. I really don't. I think that is going to be, you think about it, Lee, we've got a lot of outgoings to happen at Arsenal, right? We've got a lot of outgoings. It ain't just going to be Eddie and Balogun that we're looking at selling, right? You've got Pepe that's got to go out the club. You've got Tavares, you've got Lokonga. Patino looks like he might be going with a buyback clause. Rob Holding's got to go. Austin Trusty's a player that I think Ipswich Town are looking at getting on loan for the season. Marquinhos, again, looking at a loan move. I think Burnley are looking at Lokonga on loan. I was listening to Tom earlier. Still got Cedric and Runnison that are still at the club. You know, there's like 10 players there that are all potentially looking at moves. Now, they're not going to get us 400 million back, but they are going to get you a little bit of money here and there, 10 million here and there. Like you've just said, Eddie and Balogun, 30 million or so, because they're young and English. Now, that is going to give us a lot of money to go and get somebody like, you look at it, David Raya, 40 million, they're saying. That's one of Balogun going. So Balogun can go. That's our money for Raya. You know, the rest of the money gets put towards that forward position that we need, plus a little bit of money that the Cronkies have still got for us. So I think we're going to be in a really good position here, Lee. I really do, mate.
Yeah, and I think Arsenal will attack the window at the end of the season as well. Like, you know what I mean, on another four. If you know, if they have to sell both Eddie and Balogun, like, you know, I think that would mean that we'd have to go and get another forward, whether that be Tony in January or Vlahovic or somebody. I think that they will. Listen, Arsenal are not afraid to spend the money if they think it's the right player. That is Absolutely. A fact. That is a fact. You know what I mean? So if the player that comes up that they want, whether it be a Declan Rice or so and so, or Tony or whoever, or a goalkeeper for 40 million, they will pay it. You know, they're not actually looking at the money and saying, "Oh, that's 40 million, that's whatever." They're actually looking at it now like a proper club by saying, "Do you know what? We need a proper backup goal. We need 2 goalkeepers." You know, it's really is, Dan, when you think about it. If you've got, you could actually say the same about Ben White and Timber, say, playing on that right-hand side. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Like, you know, you've got competition there. You've got competition for central defenders. Why can't you have competition for goalkeepers? You know,
it should be like that in every position, Lee. That's what we need.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what they're looking to do. The only difference is that, you know, the chances are that a goalkeeper can't be subbed. That's the only difference. When you think about it, you know, you might get on, you might not. But I think that they're looking at it and thinking, whether Arteta's looked at it and just said, like, you know, in the Europa League last season, Turner wasn't quite what he was looking for. They can't take risks no more. You know, the end of it, you know, we've got to be challenging for the title. But if you take your foot off the gas here or your eye off the ball, like, you know, you can be caught up by the Liverpools and Manchester Uniteds and Newcastles and Aston Villas of this world. So I think it's very, very important that they do these things. And, you know, listen, it'd be a massive thing if they was to get him. massive. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, you've not got to worry about if Ramsdale. I think sometimes Ramsdale may have played a bit last season when he was not quite right. I don't know, like you know what I mean, and give him a break and that. So I think it'd be a good thing. And I do think that come the end of the season, I think that what we're seeing now is a few players going down. I think that's got to happen, and then I think at the end of the transfer window, I think Arsenal will go in again big, and I think that's exciting, isn't it? It really, really is exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Let's talk a little bit about David Raya, because David Raya, for me, has been one of the best goalkeepers in the league this season. I honestly stand by that. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. And I think along with the likes of Nick Pope and Alisson, who were top draw, and Ramsdale, to be fair, he was right up there. And we were sniffing around him a couple of seasons ago. And I think our goalkeeping coach at the time really liked him. And I think it stuck.
Yes, I remember
with the Arsenal. Remember, with the Arsenal coaching staff, I think they've been looking at this kid and thinking, so what is he special then? Oh, wow, he ain't half bad. If it is true that the rumours are that his contract's running down, then obviously Brentford are going to take the money. And I think 35, 40 million pounds is probably about what I'd expect it to be for this market. Now, I'm just surprised, Lee, that Man United and Chelsea aren't sniffing around him, because they both needed a goalkeeper. Obviously, Man United now gone for Onana, and Chelsea, I still think, need a goalkeeper to only have Kepa. So I think that it's really key here that we get this done. And I also think it's interesting that he would rather come to Arsenal than Bayern Munich. So for me, that is fantastic, because he knows he's not going to be first choice at Arsenal. Now, I'm sure he's got in his head, look, I can get ahead of Ramsdale. I'm better than him. I'm good enough for him. I don't think there's much between them, if I'm honest, from what I've seen in the last couple of seasons. I don't look at Ramsdale and go, you are head and shoulders ahead of Raya. I don't look at Raya and think he's head and shoulders ahead of Ramsdale. I think this would be an unbelievably good signing. And I don't think we have to go back too far to have two good goalkeepers at the club. But we always have had one number one and one that you think, oh, let's hope we don't get injured because he'll have to come in. And I think that's what's really key now. I'm not going to start slating Matt Turner because he's hardly played for Arsenal. But I could tell straight away, Lee, is like, you ain't going to make number one. Like, you just don't look good enough. You're not as good as Ramsdale. And I think now, if you've got a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup, and perhaps some of the Champions League games, if you do want a keeper that's needed for backup, David Raya would be an unbelievably good signing. So I'd be excited by this one, Lee.
Yeah, excited for it. And also, like, Ramsdale knows that, even if he has a bad game, that he's probably going to be the start in the next game. I'm not saying that's in his mindset, but, all of a sudden he's being pushed, you know what I mean? Like, really, really high like that. And also, the thing is, if you can get Raya, if he does really, really well, you might only want him for a season or so, and then you move for another one. Like, I don't really know how this goalkeeping thing works, if I'll be really honest. I don't know how you keep two goalkeepers happy. I'm going to be.
Well,
really
can I
honest.
ask you on that a minute? And I'll just stop you on that a minute, because I was listening to Talk Sport on the earlier. I went out for some dinner earlier with my mate, and there's a bloke rung up Talk Sport, Arsenal fan, and he said, "Oh, I'm not too sure about Arsenal and Arteta with goalkeepers." And I thought that's a bit of a strange thing to say. And I listened to him, and he was basically taking it back. And you do forget, we had Emi Martinez, and he let him go. We had Leno that he gave number one shirt to, then realised quite quickly, actually, we don't want Leno, we want Ramsdale in. And now he's thinking, oh, we do need David Raya. Now, that to me says exactly what you've just said. You can't keep two goalkeepers happy. And then when the bloke had replied to him on TalkSport, he said, I think Arsenal will be fine with Raya and Ramsdale for one season, but that will be it. One of them will go the following season, because one of them will say, well, I'm not first choice and I want to play. And I thought it was interesting there. And I think, how do you keep two goalkeepers of that quality happy? It's very, very difficult, isn't it?
Exactly that. Like, I mean, I find that you could, like, say, for instance, you got Timber and Ben White. You can play Ben White centre half on certain games, or Timber at left back like he did against Barcelona, or play him in midfield or whatever. You can't do that. I can't say around, you're playing right wing today. I mean, you just can't do it, like, So it is a difficult thing to do. How can I say this? If you was Aaron Ramsdale, let's just say, like, you're gone into a meeting with Mikel, and he said, right, you're going to play every Premier League game. Well, I've just worked hard to get into the Champions League, boss. You know what I mean? I would like to play in the Champions League. then you're saying to the other manager, other goalkeeper, well, you're just going to play Champions League, FA Cup, and Carabao Cup. You're going to give you 20 games a season, you know, but you're not going to play in the Premier League, you know. So, well, I want to play in the Premier League. So it's going to be very, very. I think it's a very, very difficult situation.
Yeah,
you know,
I
really
will
do.
say as well though, on the flip side of that, Lee, Ramsdale. I really like Ramsdale, by the way. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. I think he's been outstanding for us in the last couple of years. He's made a couple of mistakes in pre-season that people might look at and highlight him for. At the moment, there's no one pushing his place, is there? So he's making them errors, and he thinks, "I'm going to get in next week." Lucky, I've made an error, but luckily the other geezer's just nowhere near as good enough. If he makes an error now, Arteta might be ruthless enough to go, "Well, listen, I bought David Raya in for decoration, mate. He's going back in," and I don't mean that to be harsh just to Ramsdale, but that should be like that in every single position. Let's say
Exactly
Saka.
right,
Let's say Saka at the moment, and he hasn't had it because he's just outstanding. He's by far our best player. He's a star boy, isn't he? But if he has a bad game, he's getting in next week, not just because he's top quality, but because Reece Nelson ain't the level. So you can say that about that position as well. So I think now, if Partey has a bad game, Rice comes in. If Timber ain't quite ready, White or Tomiyasu is there. Tierney's still there. If Zinchenko has a knock, we've got centre backs now that can cover each other in positions left side and right side. This is what we need all over the pitch. And I think in defence now, Lee, we've got like sort of 8 there that are absolute quality that you just think, do you know what? I'm quite happy if we get injuries in defence now because we'll be fine. But at goalkeeper, right wing, and up top, if we're losing Jesus, Saka, and Ramsdale, you can see why Mikel Arteta is looking at those positions.
Yeah, and the other thing is people are saying, "Oh, like, well, you know, like Ramsdale come in and battled it with Leno and all that." I think the key factor with Ramsdale is he just 2 months ago signed a new long-term deal. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a different scenario to it, what it was a year or so before. Because if you know, why sign him on a massive contract if you had plans to out him the following season? So I don't think that that's the case. I think that he really is like bringing in. They've got an opportunity to bring in another goalkeeper as good as the one that they've got, and really forced a competition in a healthy sort of situation. And listen, you know, if we do buy him again, I'm going to say, you know, Mikel, I trust what he's going to do. He know what he's going to do, and that's something that you have to do. And you know, if you're going in for the Champions League, listen, if you're going to try and win the Champions League and trying to win the league and all that, perhaps you do need 2 top goalkeepers down.
Yeah.
You know, it's been so bloody long since we've been in that position. You know. That we've done, you know, and we were talking about this today, a charity game today, like, you know what I mean, and I was talking to one of the guys there, and we were saying, like, you know, big up to No Man's Land anyway, like, you know, a bigger charity for mental health for men anyway, which was a great charity I've done today.
Nice.
But what we were saying was that now at Arsenal we've got a number 1 and a number 2 defensive partnership, like, you know, like Saliba's your number 1, number 2 is Gabriel, like, you know, we haven't had that for a very, very long while.
No,
you know, we've had two number 2 central defenders, if you know what I mean. So now we've got that, you know, that we're going to have 2 top class goalkeepers. So I think it's something that we're going to have to get used to, is that it does seem that the club's going places, Dan. It's really whether they will win the league or not, we don't know. But I can tell you what, there's a belief that they can challenge you for it. There's a belief that they can win it, you know. There's a belief that they can win it.
Why should there not be? Why should there not be?
Well, exactly. You know what I mean? And if you're spending that money on a goalkeeper situation and really looking like they're covering all bases, Dan, you know what I mean? Like, and what you'd have to say, if they're prepared to do that in the goalkeeper, when it comes to the centre forward, and they're going to worry about, you know, you have to sort of say, I've been one to turn around and go, oh, if I'm a 60 million pound striker or whatever, I don't really want to fight it out with Jesus or whatever, like, you know what I mean? But this Raya seems like he's going to say, right, you know, what a good attitude that is. No, you know what I mean? I'm going to back myself.
And I like that. I love that.
I like that. And that's what we like with you know, if we get a forward in there and he's going to turn around and say, do you know what, I'm going to back myself, like, you know. So I think it's, you know, this is an exciting transfer window for Arsenal at the moment. Like, you know, and there's a couple of them are coming from left field. You know what I mean? Havertz, for instance, I didn't think that. By the way, I was impressed with him in that first half against Barcelona. I thought he played really well. So all of a sudden, like, you know, it's very, very exciting sort of signings, and it's not. I think it's squad players that we need as well, and we're prepared to spend big on squad players as well as big on the top players as well. So I think it's very, very encouraging.
Yeah, it is very encouraging. 100% it is. Let's talk a little. Some really good questions in the chat as well, actually. If you do want to put a question to myself or Lee or a super chat, smash it in. We will try and do some towards the end of the show. The players that impressed me in pre-season, I'm just going to shout them out to you, mate, and let me know how you thought, because you were there. Might be different for you, Lee, because you obviously see it up close. I only see it from a distance or from afar, so to speak. Trossard. Wow. Here's a question for you. Who starts against Nottingham Forest after that pre-season, Martinelli or Trossard?
Martinelli, because of his 15 goals. But I can tell you this now, he is being pushed left, right and centre by what I've seen. I at this moment in time, Trossard's the one I'm looking at and thinking, you know what, you're starting. Right?
Because I'd play Trossard. I'd play Trossard.
The way he's playing at the moment, like, you know, he was sensational against.
Incredible, man.
Finishing, the way he worked back and everything like that. But don't forget, Martinelli's come back from an injury. You know, we got injured, like, didn't he, by Brighton, didn't he? By Caicedo,
Yeah.
So, you know, he's going to. But what you're going to have now is that Martinelli's going to be thinking to himself, right, I've got to step up my game now in these next two games. Otherwise, I might not be in. You know what I mean? And might be worried about not being in. It'd be very interesting again to see who plays on that left-hand side. You know what I mean? And don't forget, Trossard can play on the right-hand side. I remember he played against. I can't remember who it was now, Crystal Palace, when they rested Saka, and he played out there and played really well. So
Leeds, I think, wasn't it? Was it Leeds?
It could have been Leeds.
One
of them two. And done really, really well. So you know, he is the one guy at this moment. If I look at the players, you know, that I think, like, if you was to say got name your starting lineup and up front, you go Martinelli, Jesus, and Saka, but he is the one player that's really, really pushing for them there. Like, you know, as it has been more sharper than Smith Rowe, and you know, Smith Rowe's come back from the Euros and he's looking sharp as well. Like, you know, I've been impressed with him every time he's come on. So it'd be really, really interesting where they're going to play these guys and whatever. But Trossard for me has been absolutely brilliant the last. Well, I think he's played really well on the whole tour.
Yeah, I saw him MLS All-Stars in Barcelona. He was a star for me. Absolutely brilliant against Barcelona. And I think it'd be very harsh if he doesn't start, in my opinion, against Forest. Martinelli, I think he's been all right. People are saying he's not looked quite sharp enough. I disagree with that. I didn't look at him and think, wow, you're poor. I know he missed a chance at Man United. He slotted a really nice goal, the MLS All-Stars. And I love Martinelli. He's probably up there, one of my favourite players. So, of course, I absolutely love him. But again, Lee, that's what we want, mate. Trossard knocking on the door. This is 100%.
100%. And that's what you want, you know, because one thing is, if he does, he's raising the bar of Martinelli, because that's what you need. But if Martinelli can't raise the bar, then he comes in. You know, I will say that Jesus, by the way, was sensational against Barcelona.
How good was he? How good was he? And a few people in the chat saying, I think he's under pressure. Trossard should play number 9. Listen, that's an option as well. But for me, I don't think Jesus. I thought he was outstanding against Barcelona. There's that unbelievable individual bit of skill he did, which was great play from Timber. Then a great from Havertz, and he just put it. I thought, wow, what an unbelievable bit of play that was. Like, it's superb, wasn't it?
Well, it is superb, and I'll tell you what. You know, he rattles central defenders. That's why that defender's making rash challenge, because, you know, he goes toe to toe with them, muscles them out of the ball. You know, he's not that big, but he's very, very strong. He bounces off players, and then he's got this skill and everything, like, you know. And don't forget, he come back from a long injury. I think he needed this pre-season, you know, to get back into the groove. again, I've been excited with what I've seen with him. Like, and I thought he was brilliant on the tour. If I'll be honest, great goal against the All Stars. Didn't play, of course, in the or didn't start against Man United, and it showed. Our performance, we was a little bit toothless. As soon as he comes into the scene, we look like scoring at every attack. That's the greatest thing about these players. And you can go with Trossard, Martinelli, you can go with Saka, you can go with Jesus and whatever. They all look very, very dangerous when going forward. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we look like we're going to score at will from that. And it's no coincidence. Against Man United, we didn't really look like scoring, Dan. As soon as Jesus comes back into the team, we look like we can score all round. He's not one of those players that's going to get 20 league goals himself. But I'll tell you what he is going to... He creates mayhem for players around him. He really does. And I was really, really impressed with him on... I can't even think when it was now, Wednesday. Really, really impressed with him, like, you know. So it'd be interesting to see what the manager does. You know, I'm these next two, you know... Let's talk about it. Is the Community Shield? Is it a proper game for us, or is that pre-season? I don't really know. You tell me.
Well, listen, I've always said it's a little bit of a glorified soccer aid. I don't really see it as a huge trophy, but I will say that it's against the side that we have absolutely got to be better than this season. And you know, if we win it, which I want to. I'm not going to start getting big-headed about it because it's not really something that I look at and hold out in high regard. But I will say that it sets you up for the season against the best side out there and probably the best side in the world. It is the best side in Europe at the moment. They've proven that by winning a treble. So I think it is important that we take it really seriously, mate. Really seriously.
Sorry, Dan, what was that?
You're right, mate.
I was just out to take an important.
Oh, was you on a call? Was you? Oh, I
Yeah,
saw that. I didn't know if you were on mute or
answer.
talking to me or what you were doing.
Yeah,
no, that's fine, mate. So no, listen, for me, it is massively important, and I think that it's a game that we can actually look at going up against Man City and saying, do you know what, this is where we're at right now. You know, this is where we need to be at. Where we're at.
I'm with you. I think we need to play really. Doesn't mean anything if we don't win it, but I think if we could get a win against them, a little statement win against them, like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I just think it's
we always do right, don't we, in this Community Shield as well? I don't want to jinx it. But
yeah,
many we've, you know,
people turn around, oh, it's a trophy and all that. Like, yeah, it is a trophy, but it's a trophy that you know, doesn't mean too much.
I agree. That's what I just said. It ain't one that I look at high regard.
No, but
it sets you up for the season, isn't it? You know, we got battered 4-1 or something. It wouldn't be a good start.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly that. You know what I mean? Like, I want us to go there and just sort of like try and put it on Man City a little bit, like, just to say, you know, we're here and we're gonna be the team that smashes you and whatever, like, you know what I mean? I think that's very, very important that we do something in against City this because at the end of the day, we haven't got a great record against City over the last sort of 10
since Pep.
Since Pep, yeah, I think it's one win, I think, and that was the FA Cup one, wasn't it? Like, you know what I mean? So we need to start having a little thing at them, like, you know. Do you know, like, I hate to say it, but Tottenham have got the little thing over them, haven't they? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, well, that's what we need now on them, like, you know. And you need to start somewhere, you know. You know, if you say to me, oh well, we lose a Community Shield but beat them twice in the league, I know what one I'm going to go for, like, you know. But I do think that this game's very, very important. So I think it's very, very important on Wednesday to see what team we've got out. I know it's a friendly, and you know, but we're back home on home soil, home conditions. So I think it's very, very important.
Oh, you want to win it? 100%. We want to win it for sure,
look
mate.
What we done last season. We smashed Seville last season.
Smashed Seville.
Gives you that confidence going forward.
It's a momentum, isn't it? It's a momentum, you know, and that's so important. It really is. But listen, before we go to some questions and talk a little bit of transfers of what we might still need, I want to talk about Jurrien Timber because I looked at him and thought he was very impressive, particularly on the football. I thought he was excellent. And when he went to left back, I was surprised. I thought, what's going on here? I thought he was excellent. I thought he was so good. And I've been interested as to what Mikel Arteta has done at left back, and I'm kind of of the mindset that he's deciding who his backup left back is. Because Zinchenko's been out, hasn't he? So it's an opportunity for him to go, right, who is my backup left back? Is it Kivior? Is it Tierney? Is it Tomiyasu? Is it Timber? We've got 4 games. I'm going to play them all. And that's what he did. And I have to say, the big position that improved when Timber was at left back was Kai Havertz in that left 8.
Yeah, good
And
point.
I thought as soon as Timber was there, I looked at him and I thought, you're playing well because Timber is absolutely mustard. And I stand by that. And I love Kieran Tierney and I like Tomiyasu a lot. And I think Kivior is a good player. I'm not so sure he's a left back, mind you, but I think he's a good player. I love Kieran Tierney and he'd be the one that I'd start if Zinchenko's out. But I think Jurrien Timber's given Arteta a bit of a headache because I thought he was really good, Lee. Really good.
Yeah, I'm going to say that, like, and I think Zinchenko's got to play on Wednesday night. Got to play on Wednesday night. Like,
Who, sorry? Timber?
No, Zinchenko. Otherwise, he's not going to start for the Community Shield and going into the season. Like, you know, I think it's a bit of a worry that he's not played in any minutes again. He's missed a lot of football. He misses a lot of games, you know. So he's not really a backup left back no more, in my opinion. I think he's someone that's going to get a lot of games in there. Yes, you know, a lot of games there now. Tomiyasu done okay against Man United. Weren't great, but he done okay. He looks fit, looks strong. And then I look at Timber and he come in there. I thought, you know, this kid can play anywhere. Play really well at right back. He looks, you know, really, really good. He looks like solid in everything that he does. I've been really, really impressed with him. I didn't really know too much about him, Dan, like, you know what I mean? But this is a guy that can play across the back for any sort of... This is the thing that you need with a squad player like that. He's going to get his games, whether you see this difference between him and a goalkeeper, isn't it? You know, there's going to be times when he's going to be playing right back. There's going to be times when he's going to be on left back. There's going to be times when he's playing central defence, I think, like, you know. Very, very good on the ball. Very, very confident on the ball. Comes out with it and all that, like... And if we can break the lines through him by just running at times, you know what I mean, that's going to be really, really interesting to us. And when he gets there, I think it's a good thing. And I think that at the end of it, Dan, I do believe that when Zinchenko's not playing, we're not as fluent. But if we can get Timber in or whoever it will be, then I think that that's important for us. Like, you know, that we don't like keep going, oh, we're missing Zinchenko. So I think it's a massive thing for him. I think great buy. And I honestly think that, you know, he could actually play there as well, you know. So I do still fear for Tierney. I'll be honest, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I look at that and he's thinking, right, well, when is he going to play him, start him a game or whatever? Like,
yeah. Look good when he come on, though, Lee. Set up the goal.
He looks really good when he come on. So I think that his crossing was a little bit poor, if I'll be honest. But, like, he's a good defender, Dan. You know, play him at left back. Then if you need to be inverted, if that's the way it is, then on the right-hand side, then Timber will have to play and Ben White will have to miss out. When Zinchenko's fit, probably Ben White will be the player on the right-hand side. That's how I see it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But
Zinchenko's definitely not going to be about for a while, and I'll tell you why. He won't play Wednesday because he's got his Ukraine charity match at the weekend. So he's definitely going to miss the Community Shield because it's the day before that. So Zinchenko won't be fit until season now. He won't be playing until the actual league starts now. So, yeah, that's that.
So he's playing a charity game and not the Community Shield?
He's playing the charity game on the 5th of August, which is a day before Wembley. Because it's this Ukraine game with Shevchenko. I think that's right, unless someone in the chat can tell me differently. But I'm sure that he's playing on the 5th of August.
It's at Chelsea's ground, isn't it? Like, I know.
Yeah, so that's the day before the Community Shield.
He's going to play.
He's playing in that. Yeah, he's playing in that at Stamford Bridge ahead of the Community Shield. And so it's obviously been agreed by Arsene Wenger, that's rolling back the years, by Mikel Arteta that's going to be the case. So because he ain't played all pre-season, I don't know when he's going to come back, mate, if I'm honest. So I do think that's why Arteta's tried all 4 of them at left back, because he knows that perhaps for the first couple of weeks of the season, we won't have Zinchenko. Another player who's always injured, you know, a lot of people get on back of Tomiyasu and Tierney and all that. Zinchenko, he's always, I don't know what's wrong with him. Does anyone know what's wrong with Zinchenko? If he's playing in a charity match at the week, he must be fit again now.
He was training out there like after games and all that. Like, I know that.
Yeah. But there we go. So left back for me, it would be Kieran Tierney, but I'm going to say that because I love him. But I think Timber and Tomiyasu, and he's trying them all there, isn't he, Mikel Arteta? So who knows? Lastly, just want to talk about Kai Havertz very quickly. Like you say, scored in the MLS game, scored at the Barcelona game. Got a lot of stick with the video with the first touch and the headers and volley thing out in America, which was a bit of a shambles if you look at the video. But I've got to say, Lee, I actually was very impressed with him against Barcelona. I was actually quite surprised and a bit disappointed, I suppose, because I was enjoying seeing what he could do, that he come off. I thought maybe he might have stayed on. But obviously Smith Rowe came on. Like you say, he looked really impressive. Like for me, he looked like he bulked up, looked a lot fitter. Let me ask you this, though. Is Kai Havertz going to play there, or do you think he's going to be a little bit of a play everywhere type, rotation, versatile?
I have no clue on this. We were talking about this the other day. Like, listen, I think that from what I see the Barcelona game, Thomas Partey's got to play in the middle as a holding player.
Oh, absolutely.
So he was different class. So that then puts you, well, Declan Rice has got to play, but where's he going to play? So is he going to go to the box to box? So it's a very interesting week coming up for him. But I'm with you on this. That Kai Havertz played really, really well and finished his goal really well. And also, I know that I went to that bloody soccer challenge thing, like, you know, I mean, it was okay. It's not for me, if I'll be really honest. He done well in some things, and then, you know, was poor in the other. But he weren't the only one, by the way. But he didn't do himself no favours there. And I was a little bit, I felt at the time when I said it, like, you know, sort of hung him out to dry a little bit there, because if he was good in it, you know, nothing would have come of it, and if he was bad, he got all the stick that he got. So, but when the ball come across for him to volley in the game the next day, he smashed it in, which was a better finish. I didn't realise how good a finish that was until I see it on TV. So, and then took his goal against Barcelona really well as well. And I'm with you on this, Dan. I thought he was brilliant in the first half. Not just his play when he had the ball, off the ball as well.
Yeah,
you know,
that was what I was looking at. I was looking at what he was like off the ball, because I have worries, and I do have worries that he's still that position. I think Declan Rice will play there. I don't see Havertz starting. I don't see him as a regular starter. A lot of people say he must be because he's 65 million. I don't think he will be. He's not going to get ahead of Ødegaard. He's not going to get ahead of Rice, and he's not going to get ahead of Partey. So he's either going to play in a different position. I don't think he's going to get ahead of Jesus, Martinelli, or Saka. So unless he's going to play in goal, I don't think he's really going to get a game in the first team. So this is fine by me, absolutely fine. Another one that can come on and cause some strength in depth and create some strength in depth. I think Kai Havertz had a very good half. I don't think it's good enough to then force somebody out the side, but he's going to be an interesting player because, to be fair, he has got 2 goals in 4 games. So we can't sit there and say he's been a shambles already, like some people were trying to. So I thought I'd mention him. Anything else, mate, on pre-season before we come to some questions that impress you?
No, I'm with you. It's really interesting to see what's going to happen with Rice. You know what I mean? I didn't really see enough of Declan Rice to say, what we're going to do there. At this chat I do, speaking to a few West Ham fans today, and they was all saying, like, well, you've got to look after him, he's great and all that, like, you know. So and we know that he is. So it'd really be very, very interesting where he plays. You know, Ødegaard, I think maybe like Havertz will be replacing him. But, you know, Vieira done very, very well. I think, you know, he had a
goal.
Missed a penalty against Man United, and you think, right, you know, it's not happening for you and all that. He needed to come on in that game against Barcelona and do something, and he did, you know. So, but I don't really see Havertz being a regular in the team, if I'll be really honest. But I was very, very impressed with him. I've got to say that, like, you know. So, all in all, a good workout for the guys, and I think that. Listen, I think, you know, the body language sometimes of Havertz isn't good. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with that. Yeah.
But I watched him in the game against Barcelona, and I thought, you know what, you put it about. I like the way if someone gets past him, that little tactical foul comes out and everything like that. There's a little dark arts to him and all that, like, you know. And he's ball retention. What's the word I'm looking for?
Ball retention.
Ball retention was very, very good against Barcelona and against a very, very physical Barcelona team. Let's be honest with it. Like, you know, the last couple of games, Barcelona and Manchester United, because they know they can put one on you and probably get away with it, they have done. And he never shied away from anything, Dan. You know, I mean, he was going to get clumped a couple of times and he'd done it. So I was impressed with him. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in there. And I say, like, I can't emphasise, these next 2 games. I'm excited to see what the team sheet will be. I really am, like, and because I don't know what the front three is going to be. I don't know what's going to happen in the midfield, and I don't really know what's going to happen in the back. So over these next week or so, I'm pretty sure we're going to find out what is Mikel's hand, and I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we're going to close with some questions from the chat. So Dave's going to throw them up. Me and Lee are going to discuss them. This one comes in from Chaitanya. Big up yourself, my friend. I hope you are well. Thank you so much for being here yet again. Another super chat. Thank you, mate. Says, big up, fellas. Raya is a smart signing. Gives Ramsdale competition and good backup to, God forbid, any injuries. Sell some players and get a bargain centre forward. I think forward is the next position that we need to seriously discuss, Lee. And it doesn't matter for me if it's a cover for Saka, a cover for Jesus, or 2, or 1 that can do both. It's needed. We need somebody there, in my opinion, now. And I think we will go and get one. It just depends who it is. And there's a couple of rumours. There's just been a WhatsApp. I don't know if you've seen it because you're in the same group. But that's been going wild about a name that's just come literally this evening. One that we know because he was in the Premier League this season. João Felix is one that apparently people are hearing about now that Arsenal may be looking at. So let's watch that space there. I don't know how heavy that rumour is. It's literally just come into my WhatsApp now. I've not seen Ornstein or Romano or anyone report that. So could be interesting. A player who's got a lot of talent, let's be sure. Didn't really do it at Chelsea, but certainly looked quite bright in certain games. So let's see if anything does go into fruition with that one. Big up, Christian. Hope you're well, friend, my good old friend Christian. Thank you very much for being here, mate. Says, what do you think is easier to win for us next season, the Champions League or the Premier League? Let me put this one to you, Lee. What do you think? Champions League or Premier League this coming season for Arsenal? What's easier to win, do you think?
I think difficult one because Man City are in both. But I think probably the Champions League is easier to win. Because I think if you have a little bit of luck, something can happen and everything like that. It's a cup competition. So I think, look, don't get me wrong, there's some good sides in it, but I can tell you this now. The last time we was in it, Barcelona are nowhere near as good as what they were. Real Madrid are nowhere near as good as what they were when we was playing it, nor Bayern Munich. So that'd be really interesting. Like, you can say that maybe like Chelsea weren't as good as it, and they're not in it now. Like, so it's going to be. But so I think, I do think that. I'm not saying that we're going to win that, but I think it's probably slightly easier to win. But Manchester City are in there. But I'd rather take Man City on over 2 games than over 38.
I agree with you entirely. I think the Champions League is the easier one to win. And I've always said it has been because it's a knockout competition. I think the Premier League is all about 38 games of being consistent. The Champions League, you've got the same rounds as an FA Cup. We've obviously got the group stages, which most of the big teams go through. And then it's a knockout game. So I think for me, anyone can win that. When I've seen teams like Porto and Liverpool win it, Chelsea under Di Matteo win it, surely Arsenal can say that's the easier one in the Premier League.
Exactly that.
That's the way I've got to see it. Next one comes in from Patrick. Says, Lee, what do you think of Edu recognising and consolidating the Tactical Insight show? Come on. I don't mind that.
It broke my bloody heart, you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? He said, "I'll stop having a go at James and all for it, all right, you know what I mean?" So, I have to concede now, James, But listen, I don't know if people have seen the video, but he got drunk on that, James, that night, like, because he was on such a high. He's such a good guy. He really is, James. He really is. He's changed, I think, AFTV around with his professionalism and the journalism side of it and all that, like, And, for Edu to turn around and go, I'll watch the tactics and all that, like, I'm really interested in it, was massive for him. And
big up Graham as well for that.
Yeah, Graham's in that as well, yeah. I have to say that, like, and to have a player, not only just a player, an invincible watching it, but the CEO of the footballing side watching that. And, I don't know if he goes back and says, I've just seen a tactic that they've done like Mikel. I'm not so sure. But, like for him to be, his work be acknowledged, I think is a massive thing for him. Like, and I take the Mickey out of him and all that, like, but that's only because I like him. But he's a really good guy, and he works, his socks off, and you know what he's like when he does the watch along things and everything like that. And for him to get that sort of praise from Edu, actually, like, bit out, he said, really give him a lot of praise, and he said, I just moan, you know what I mean? So it's
Listen, do you know what? Now you've said that, it's a nice little segue to what I was going to say. There are people that moan because it's passion, and there are people that know their club inside out. There ain't many people I know, other than James and Graham, that know a lot about the game the way they do in terms of their in-depth. I mean, the tactics of and the knowledge of the pair of them. Graham Brooks, for me, for a man who's never played a game of football in his life, knows a hell of a lot about the game, and so does James. And I'm with you there. I'm a big fan of James, like him a lot, lovely fella, and I think he has turned the channel around and given that channel perhaps something it had a gap in. And I think now what James has done with his knowledge there is top draw. So fair play to the pair of them, man.
And like, tactics isn't for everybody, Dan. You know what I mean? Like, there's
absolutely, man.
There's a lot of players that are not really knowledgeable about tactics and things like that. And it's hard to understand and all that. Like, listen, I was speaking to a few of the newbies from America, and they're saying that stop having a go at James. We love it because we're trying to learn the game, So
there you go, see, Lee. Lay off him, mate. Now you will lay him off.
Yeah, well, no.
This one comes in from St. Francis. It says, Dan, we have always cried for squad. We've always cried for squad with good competition, not backup. Why are people crying as if Rambo is the be-all, end-all of keepers? Why is Lee worried for Rambo, new deal or not? I don't know. I think we've been saying, I think that's been great signing. I think Raya would be fantastic if he came into the club, and I think that's what we need, competition for places. And I think you're right, St. Francis. People have been crying about squad depth or lack of it. Now let's go and get it, mate. So I'm absolutely 100% with you there, and I back up what you're saying. So fair play to you on that one. This next one comes in from Alan Billiard. Alan, question for Dan. You're always talking about outfield players as I am, but now you're going on about a goalie. Ramsdale getting too big for his boots now. I don't know if that's a question. I think it's just a point. I don't quite get that one. We'll move on. Did you get that one, Lee? What's I don't.
Well, listen. I think that Ramsdale does. I don't think he's being too big for his boots. It's part of his game. It seems very strange that there is a little bit of criticism towards Aaron now because he's had a indifferent game against Man United. He needs to shape up a little bit after that. I think he did against Barcelona, but I look at it and I think, I remember him playing against Spurs and teams like that and being fantastic. So, listen, competition can only be good for this football club, and that's how I look at it. If Raya comes and it makes Aaron Ramsdale play better, who does it help? That's how I look at it. So healthy competition is what we need at this football club. There are 1 or 2 or 3 players in this team that realise that they can play whether they're playing well or not. That's not a good thing. You need everybody to be on their toes.
This one comes in and says, is Raya currently better than Ramsdale? I don't think there's much between it, Lee. I'll say that now. I don't actually. I think Ramsdale is the one that I think has been highlighted more because of the club he plays for. If David Raya will put in the performances that he has in a Chelsea, United or Arsenal shirt, people will be raving about him, saying, oh my God, this goalkeeper's great. So I don't know. I don't think there's too much between it. I would go Ramsdale, but not by much, Lee.
Well, look, for me, it doesn't really matter. Ramsdale's got the shirt at the moment, deservedly so. Like, you know what I mean? It's up to Raya to take it off of him.
Yeah.
And there's 2 ways that happens. He plays really, really well when he does, or Ramsdale drops in form. So, at this moment in time, it's up to Aaron to make sure that doesn't happen. Benefit to the club.
Absolutely. This last one comes in from Sakaya, who says, what is your midfield 3 going into the Forest game? My midfield 3 would be Partey in the 6, holding midfield. I would have box-to-box, Declan Rice and Martin Ødegaard in the attacking 8. What would you have, Lee?
Exactly the same.
There we go. I think it has to be. I know Havertz has done well in a couple of games, but I don't think he displaces either Partey or Ødegaard, who have had a season of magic. And Declan Rice is the record signing, has to come into this setup. So for me, Havertz has to force his way into it. and Declan Rice replaces Granit Xhaka for me. And I do think, as much as Granit Xhaka, I've doubted, I actually think we will potentially miss some of what Granit Xhaka brought. And I think that it's for Declan Rice to upgrade on that and prove that we aren't going to miss it. So if it takes a couple of games or whatever it be, I do think that we will have that midfield that just won't go bang straight away like it has, because it was completely fluent before. But I'm a huge fan of what Declan Rice brings to Arsenal, and I think we could go to another level once it clicks. I really do. What about yourself, Lee?
I'm with you on that. Listen, you don't spend £105 million and not play him, you know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
So you got to find somewhere to play him. I think that he can play box to box. I think that that's the position I do see him in. I think it's a great thing that if, say, for instance, Partey's injured, then he drops into that role, and then Havertz comes in there. Don't forget, you've got Thomas Partey, as good as he is, can only play once a week anyway. So Havertz will get his games. So, and then Declan Rice will go back into that midfield role. But when I look at Partey when he played on Wednesday night against a very, very good midfield at Barcelona, they're a good team, Barcelona. He totally dominated the game. Not just the game, the tempo of it, knows when to slow. Little 1-2s round the corner, Dan, you know what I mean? They're not spectacular on the eye, but they're spectacular for midfield players to see that, and then he's just got all the time in the world to get Arsenal back on the move again. I'm a big fan of his, if and when he's at 100% fitness. And hopefully, he can stay injury free. Declan Rice can run havoc in that midfield, But what a front three what a midfield that is. That's got energy, it's got power, that's got pace, that's got guile, it's got goals, it's got everything in it, So really looking forward
to I think we got an unbelievably good first 11, and I think we already did have. I think we've definitely improved on it, and now we need to look at the squad depth, and that is getting there. As we come to a close, Lee, I've got a question for you. How many players do you think Arsenal will bring into the football club between now and the end of the window, and what positions do you think that there will be?
I think 2. I still think we need 2. By the way, Jorginho's impressed on this tour. I have to say that, every time I've seen him, but I still think we need another one midfield player to cover those roles. And I also think that we need a centre forward if we're going to sell. I think that we'll sell either or both Eddie and Balogun, and we'll go for a forward. That's what I think we need. And I think Jesus then could do the right hand side.
Interesting. I think we need another forward. I also think that we might need another central midfielder. Now, that sounds crazy because we seem to have quite well stacked there. But I do worry that if Declan Rice isn't playing in that 8, whether Havertz is that guy and he's not more of an attacking player. I would love to go and try and get this Caicedo over the line ahead of Chelsea. I'd absolutely love it. It'd be brilliant to see. And go and get Caicedo in as well. And that is a proper midfield. Because you've got next season, Jorginho and El Neni and potentially Partey all going. So what do we do then? We've got Declan Rice, and that's it. So for me, getting another one in now would be fantastic. There are links with Kudus as well, who can play attacking 8 and probably a few positions, to be fair, number 10 and wide. So that's an interesting one. And also, if we do get David Raya, that would be fantastic. But we definitely need a forward, whether that's someone to cover Saka or somebody to go up top. I think we need it. And I think we need it quite soon. So let's hope that happens. Big up everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for being with us. That is absolutely amazing. Make sure that if you are new to the channel that you are liking and also subscribing to this, because me and Lee are back and we're going to be doing a lot of daily content starting from this week, building up to the Emirates Cup and, of course, the Community Shield. And then we'll be back with a season underway, bringing you daily content, new shows, and pretty much every day we'll be on here talking to you guys. So please make sure that you subscribe. If you can come and do the same to myself, that would be amazing as well. I'm literally touching 11K at the moment, so that'd be great if you could come over and do the same with Football's 12th Man podcast, which will be going daily as well. So busy times. Football is back, Lee, and I'm looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. We've got some good stuff. We've got a big announcement coming up, I think next week, is it? So stay tuned for that. We're starting to work on that now. I think everybody will be pleased with that when they see that come out.
Yep.
And we're doing some stuff, I think maybe Tuesday, I think question show with me. And I don't know if you're on that one, Dan, if you're about or not. We'll try to get you on that as well. The Q&A question shows I really like. They're really like, it gets everybody involved, and we'll do that like just before the Emirates Cup. Then we'll talk about what's happened at the Emirates Cup, and then we'll look forward to the Community Shield, and then it's on. Then it's the season starts. You know what I mean?
It is, mate.
It is
It
on.
is, mate.
You know,
and I'm looking forward to it. And so that's it. So make sure you get daily, come over here for daily content. Come follow myself, Football's 12th Man podcast, and get involved with the community. We'll leave it there, guys. Up the Arsenal. Take it easy. We'll see you next time. Big up.